Hello.
Hello. Hey, well, welcome to the Political Matrix News. Boy, I'll tell you, as always, during the Trump administration, it is a fantastic, fun news day. We have everything from governors inciting violence to Congress people, calling the governor the disabled governor,
Governor Hot
you know,
Wheels.
Governor Hot Wheels, mocking a disabled person. So the party of inclusion, the party of compassion. I guess
Gone.
you're I guess you're compassionate as long as they agree with you.
The Democrat Party of Compassion and Inclusion is gone, gone, gone. It is far gone.
I don't think it ever existed. I think it was always a marketing stunt for for them to do fundraising, and that was really it.
I mean,
they're not.
We once again now have Carville and Begala and Rahm Emanuel and all the centrists from the Clinton years looking like the only normal people in the Democrat Party, which actually most of the Democrats I know think they should just call themselves Republicans and just be done with it.
At
Because,
this point,
at this point here, the way Bill Clinton governed and even Hillary Clinton governed was very far to the right of the Democrat Party of today. It's funny. It's horrible for
it
them.
is
It's horrible for
hilarious.
their membership because they bait and switched everybody. They're all so confused, and it's sad. It's just so sad.
Let me tell you something. 50% of all voters, just regardless of party affiliation in California, are open to having a Republican governor.
Yeah. Good luck, guys, in 2026 coming up. I mean, we got Byron Donalds running here in Florida, and even the current governor's wife, I think, is bailed out now, and he is a hands-on favorite of being endorsed by Trump. And doesn't look like anybody's even close to him or going to be close to him here in Florida.
I think he obviously has a great chance, but it's a long way to election day, and the most well, it will be a Republican, but the most devastating thing that you can do for a campaign is decide, we got it.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, the Democrats have to cheat on an unknown level of cheating in Florida to make up for the numerical advantage that the Republicans have here. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean,
And they're not afraid to.
Exactly. I mean, after they did that purge 4 years ago, I mean, we had close elections for year after year. We get to wondering how come it's so close, I mean, because if you talk to people who are alive,
On the street.
above ground, and who are breathing, it wasn't that close of a state. I mean, we kept saying it's a purple state because statistically it looked purple. However, once we got all the stats out of the way and all the dead people and all the people off the voter rolls that should have been off the voter rolls out of the way, the majority of the state went very, 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 very red, like bloody red. I mean, it's like, even Miami-Dade and Hillsborough County are red.
Yeah, there you go.
In Alachua County, if we actually had honest people here working in the county elections office, would probably be red as well. And probably Leon County might be also. Leon and Alachua County both follow the same lines of don't look at what we're doing, just don't look. We don't want to talk about it. And so, I mean, it's you got some sort of voter irregularities here and there with, your numbers of dead people voting through a college campus and college campus kids who did not know that they voted.
Entire buildings of people who do not speak English, moving to college, moving to college, and voting being a priority for them, for the whole building.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And they moved there within a week or two of the election.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were ingratiated in the wonderful township for months and months and months. No, the building wasn't even open.
And are they still there?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. A lot of them are foreign exchange students, and possibly.
Well, the thing is, the election happened. The election happened toward the end of a semester, and we haven't finished the next semester. And so for people to come here, transfer for college, and then leave, whatever.
They might be here. They might not be here. We don't know. We don't even, we don't even know how to reach them because their phone numbers are not working. Their contact information isn't really working all that well. We have really no idea who they are. And the whole idea they're able to change their vote that on the same day of the election. And I think that might be an issue here. There might be a possibility of a congressional race coming up in Northwest Florida. They might be doing the same thing up there.
There is no telling what's going on up here, what they're trying to do up here. I will say this though: if the Democrat candidate wins up here, it'll be time to bring in the FBI because there is zero chance of a Democrat winning in this district.
Well, they have done a great job fundraising.
Yeah. Oh well, she's done quite a job fundraising. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean they're probably gonna hit $9 million before this election's over, and Petronas is going to probably have around like 10 or 15 million. I mean, that's a lot of money on a race that should have been a shoo-in for a Republican.
It's a lot of money for a race that should be a $3 million race at most.
Exactly.
Especially during a special election.
Historically, it's never cost this much. In fact, this is the most expensive race, I think, in the history of the district, by far.
By far.
I mean, no Democrat has ever raised this kind of money. No Republican has ever spent this kind of money. I mean, I just want
to tell everyone, if you think something weird is going on, it almost certainly is. If you can't understand it, it's because someone is hiding something from you. So you don't understand the election is yours in your area, it's time to go get involved because something is definitely right.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz never spent more than $2 or $3 million in any of his elections, and
that's because half of that stuff was just like, I wouldn't say kickback. Kickbacks implies that it's illegal, and what he's doing isn't illegal. He's paying people for for probably campaign related things. I don't even think it's not campaign related, but it's one of those things that you do to do a favor for somebody.
Right.
Like they helped you out over here, so you're going to be generous in employing them over here. And I'm sure a lot of that is because he never even came close to having a issue.
No, not at all. And the other campaign over here in Florida, the other special election going on, the Randy Fine and whoever the Democrat is. I mean, nobody really knows who the Democrat is running. It's going to be another slobber knocker. But that's the whole thing, is that ever since they cleaned up the voter rolls, there's been no close elections here in Florida whatsoever, really.
Not between Republicans and Democrats.
No. And so, I mean, that being said, I mean, a lot of these other states might want to start looking at that. Start looking at, their voter rolls and seeing how they can clean them up and getting all the junk off of it. Might be a good idea.
The data analysis isn't even that tough. I mean, there are a significant number of them whose mailing address is a vacant lot.
Exactly, or the ball field for the local town. Like a lot of people in New York use the Yankees ball field as a local address. I mean, here we have a lot of people use the sheriff's department in Escambia County and Alachua County. A lot of them use the Ben Hill Griffith Stadium or stuff like that. I mean, people a lot of times will just use a really big public address for their address and not really worry about the details. And there's no verification.
That'd be an interesting little bit of data. You go to the property appraiser's website and find all of the addresses of all the vacant land in the county, and then compare that database with the actual voter database and see how often the vacant properties pop up.
And you look at the same process with the donations. I mean, we had a lot of donations throughout Northwest Florida and North Central Florida, where donations are empty fields that belong to the government. They're not empty fields that belong to an individual. They're vacant fields that belong to the federal government or the state government, and or they're ball fields that belong to churches, or they're fields that were behind the jail, stuff like that. And so, I mean, people use these for the donation databases, and then the treasurer would certify that address as being correct. And once they certify that address, which is a Florida state document, They were more or less committing fraud, knowing that those addresses were not correct if they would have done their due diligence, which is very rarely done in local elections.
At a minimum, you would think we would be able to compel them to return the money for all of those bad addresses.
You think so? I mean, we even asked
And
one guy who was the current sheriff at the time to do that, and he's like, well, I can't find them now.
well, lucky for you, the Secretary of State has a cure for that, and that is you send the money to the Secretary of State through a process called escheatment.
Called what?
Escheatment. ESCHEATMENT.
You're really playing some inside baseball here.
Well, that's not even political. That's just regular business.
Okay.
Like if I have a credit account at like a furniture store or something like that, and I bring the payments in every week, and I give them I accidentally give them an extra $100, and I don't realize it, and they can't get a hold of me. They don't get to keep that money. They have to turn it into the Secretary of State, and then the Secretary of State, that found money,
right,
that's
exactly,
where it comes from. That is through the process of escheatment.
I learn something new every day.
Right, and a lot of people wind up having stuff like that because like they'll have a bank account that they thought they cleared out, or that they left like $50 in because they didn't want to to have a bounce check, and then they planned at some point to go back and get that $50. They just never do. They forget about it. Well, that money goes to the state, and then you have a certain number of years to claim it. I want to say after it's escheated, it's like 5 years or something like that. If you haven't come back to then, it just goes into the general fund.
Well, I do know I've been contacted that we have available money in Tallahassee in my name somewhere, and it's in the several $1,000 range. And so I'm just trying to figure out how to go around and get some time to go get it.
No, I know exactly how to go get it. You go to the Secretary of State's website and say found money, and it'll take you to a search page where you can type in your information, and it will see if there is any money there, and if there is, you can apply to get it back. You got to prove who you are, but
Yeah.
they'll write you a check for it.
Real quick, let's talk about the violence now of the Democrat Party. I mean, I know we've been talking about,
the party of peace, the party of peace,
the January 6th party. They're evil Republicans who are wanting to like commit terrorism at the Capitol because in fact they're the ones that got shot and killed by the Capitol Police. They're the ones who actually let in doors peacefully by deputies, undercover FBI agents, through the other parts of the Capitol, through other video cameras that were not shown on public mainstream media, however, shown on other media outlets. And the Republicans are so evil and violent. Yes. Bullshit. Okay, I mean, the Democrats now are calling for violence and calling to draw arms and to punch people in the face. We got this here Congresswoman here, Mrs. Crockett, Congresswoman Crockett, who was making fun of the governor of Texas being in a wheelchair. She was saying that we need to go ahead and punch these people in the face. We need to go ahead and get in their face and push them and push them and push them until they do not understand how to argue with us anymore. And we have the governor, JB, of Illinois, doing the same thing. We have
Debbie Pritzker.
Exactly. And we have Tim Walz, a former VP candidate, driving down stocks, which is stock manipulation. And stock, I mean,
that was
horrible.
Funny though.
And the teachers fund was tied to it for the state of Minnesota for they had $300 million tied into the Tesla account. And so it affected the teachers of his home state.
Yeah, the hilarious part about that is that he was talking about how he'd added Tesla stock to his Apple phone so he could check the stock decline every day. Ha ha ha. Well, it's up 500 points, sucker. What do you think about that?
Exactly. I mean, it's the funny part is that if anybody actually pays attention to the Tesla stock, it's actually going up quite a bit the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've been talking it down. They keep saying it's going down. It's going down. But if you look at the numbers, they have on the stock exchange, they have a plus and they have a minus. And, the plus is green and the minus is red. And Tesla has been consistently plus green for a while now, the last couple of weeks. I mean, they are, they're being firebombed. They have bombs showing up in different showrooms and throughout the Tesla dealerships throughout Texas, and other parts of the country, allegedly. And it seems to be how many Ford showrooms are they showing violence? And how many Chevrolet showrooms, or how many Escalade showrooms, or how many Range Rover? I mean, the point is, this is ridiculous. This is stupid,
yes.
childish bullshit, domestic terrorism. That's it. That's it. I mean, the CEOs of all the other manufacturing car plants, they destroy the environment for like hundreds of years, and they hurt the ozone impact. And for the environmentalists, they should be very upset. In fact, the environmentalists are the ones who supported Tesla and helped create Tesla to be the way they are. And now the same people are trying to bomb them and attack people for driving them and blowing up the cars. It's ridiculous.
It is unbelievable how brazen they are about it. Um, you the one thing that I'm looking forward to is the day that they connect $1 from Act Blue to these people that are planning incendiary devices and burning cars and stuff like that, because that is straight up terrorism. You know what? Even if it wasn't terrorism, um, in this country, regardless to what role you play in the conspiracy, if you provide the money for the conspiracy, but you don't exactly know what they're going to do, it doesn't matter. You are just as guilty as the guy that goes and pulls the trigger.
Yes, exactly. I mean, these guys are promoting things that are hurting people, could kill people, and it's hurting. I mean, the CNN people are calling it vandalism. I
Yeah,
mean, they're saying it's extreme vandalism.
Just the property damage is enough to create a conspiracy big enough for the federal government to legitimately, with no argument, take every nickel that Act Blue has, just liquidate the entire thing. Why do you think weeks ago all the executives and all the lawyers started walking out of Act Blue? They know what they've done, and they know how exposed they are.
I mean, according to Citizens United, corporations are people too. I mean, and it really is true. I mean, it's not just a flyby statement or anything like that. I mean, these corporations are made up of, and they have a voice, and they have a right to exist. They have a right to their own autonomy and everything else, as long as they're not violating the laws of the land. And then Tesla is not violating anybody's laws at all. They have done nothing whatsoever to deserve this. I mean, as much as you don't like Elon Musk, he did save some astronauts here who were stranded and left stranded in space by Biden because he just didn't like them, because he wanted to, I mean, he actually had no problem with astronauts. He had a problem asking Musk to go get them because of his ego and everything else. Now, if it were like, I don't know, let's say 18 months ago, before Musk got in bed with the Trump, it would have been okay. But because it's all political bullshit here, and that's one of the Democrats who got to stop this hate. I mean, I get it. You're raising killer money. I get it. Congratulations. You're robbing people blind. Okay, I'm proud of you. That's really good. It's like you're the biggest bully in the yard. You got a stick with a bunch of knives on it. Congratulations for being a little piece of shit. But the reality here is that people are suffering. People are losing their lives or losing their livelihoods. And all just so you can make a quick buck, so you can go ahead and do some more human trafficking with some Russian sponsored, call girl. I don't know. Let's buy a bride, a service, or whatever, and have your eyes wide shut lifestyle. Because I mean, that's reality here. Go find your little Epstein Island and go have fun. Because that's all you guys are doing with your money. You're not putting it toward the people. You're not putting it in any charities. You're not putting it in any programs that actually help people get off their feet and get back to work and get back to making a living. Elon Musk, yeah, granted, the way they cut, you're right. And everybody's right. The chainsaw thing, we made fun of it on purpose because it was a reckless way of doing it. But that does not mean that there are not that many people to fire that do deserve to be fired. There are a lot of intangibles. There are plenty of people who deserve to be fired, who are not working, who are lazy, who do not show up, and steal office supplies, who show up work drunk. In fact, I think we talked about it before. In order to get fired as a teacher in, I think it was in Minnesota, you have to like be convicted of selling drugs at least 2 times or 3 times. I mean, it should only be 1 time, period.
Yeah, well, you ought to be on administrative leave the minute they find out that that there's an allegation.
Yeah. Now,
I mean,
it does take longer to go through the paperwork and fire everybody who doesn't show to work and go through the notes and do that. But that's what AI is for. Use the AI and
if you're firing the people that aren't showing up for work, then you're not going to miss them.
exactly.
They're going to be gone. They're just going to be gone, and you won't. The only difference is you're not going to have to pay them now.
If you're firing the people that show up to work drunk, okay. If you're firing the workers, but I mean, but if you're firing good people and good workers, that's one thing that a few of the cabinet secretaries did say that whenever they did get carried away with cutting everybody, and they were glad they brought Nash Patel actually said they were glad they brought a lot of them back because a lot of them were very very needed, and the Justice Department. That's the reason why Nash didn't participate with that whole cutting thing, is because he and him and Pam Bondi both hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of intangibles that are not statistically valid, and that with a lot of government workers, and so it takes a little bit more time to do it. But granted, you know, there shouldn't be five guys for like whenever you drive on the road, you got five guys watching that one guy dig. We don't need five guys to watch one guy dig.
No, but and the thing is I think that there's a lot of that. Cash and Pam, and I have immense respect for both of them, but I think that there's a certain amount of them, being steeped in that culture.
Yeah, I want
That kind of,
Marco.
so they just have to get used to the fact that they have been overstaffed for decades.
Exactly. And it kind of goes where Marco's the one that started that. He's the one that brought Elon in and said, you got to slow down on this crap. Because Marco's been in government since mid 90s.
Something like that, yeah.
He's Speaker of the
Late
House
90s.
Speaker of the House in 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he's speaker, so he'd have been 96.
And that's around the same time Pam Bondi was in and Nash. They all pretty much got in federal and government work around the mid 90s. Yeah. And so they've all been, there's a big coincidence there.
Well, not Pam, because Pam wasn't AG when
no, she was a state
Clinton
attorney.
But she was not AG. She wasn't state AG.
No, she's a Hillsborough AG. Hillsborough.
I know. If you'll let me finish getting it out, she wasn't the state AG when Bush. No, when which
Jeb.
one? Bush. Yeah, when Jeb Bush. Was it Jeb Bush who was governor when she was AG?
Yeah, no, it was Rick Scott.
Rick Scott, that's right. It was Rick Scott.
It was after Charlie.
Yeah. So she really hasn't been there. I mean, think about it this way: she's been out of office for basically 4 years, wasn't it?
She's since 18. So she's been out of office.
All right, then so she came into office around 10.
Yeah, exactly. And before that, she was like, what was it, state attorney? Is that what she was in Hillsborough?
She wasn't the state attorney. She was an assistant state attorney.
Okay, I think she served as in that position, the government position, like 7 or 8 years.
Well, it's a term limited spot, so she was in it for 8 years.
Yeah. But and point being, like you had a good point. They've been steeped in government for a while, so their whole idea of let's clean a house was not the same as Elon's idea of cleaning house.
Right. Well, and that's the thing about lawyers and law enforcement people. If they have long and storied careers, that means that they've worked for the government their entire life, so they're used to the way government does things. Elon has never worked for the government, so his interactions with the government have always been ways of hindering him. So he's naturally someone that doesn't see the value of a lot of government workers. And who's going to be right? We'll see.
You're going to find out. Because
we'll find out.
One thing you notice, the courts did not tell them to hire back the IRS people.
Well, probably because that IRS thing was well, first of all, I don't even think that he fired a lot of IRS people. No, he fired a fair amount of them, but I don't think that they were all firings as much as it was terminating the order to hire. because they had an order to hire 87,000 of them. And I think a lot of those people were just people who might have been hired when but they were cut off. I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing what the exact number of people who actually had a job was, and how many of them were just these people that were just new probies. Exactly. New seller.
Let's find a game on Windows and go to see who gets high score.
Sure.
Because that seems to be what they're doing, and not real work. It's pathetic. No, but I mean, we are in a whole different world now.
Well, I remember 4 years ago. 4 years ago, the Democrats, the Maxine Waters and people like that were running around talking about confront these Trump administration people. If you see them in a restaurant, give them no peace.
Oh yeah,
and they were fine with that. And then they went back to White House, and you can't say anything even remotely sideways about any Democrat without being a racist, a homophobe, or just some kind of vile person.
Right.
But it's perfectly fine to take to literally chase people out of spaces that they have every right to be in.
Exactly. So what do you think about this new law that's being presented by Ron DeSantis here to increase children's availability to have more working hours for the children, to take the place of the immigrant or non-legal workers who are leaving the state?
Well, number one, it's not a good way to fill in the gap, because at least those people that are being run out of the state have marketable skills, and
Right.
teenagers have this perpetual lost look on their face, which doesn't get there accidentally.
No, it doesn't.
But I don't think it's it just has this Oliver Twist kind of optic to it that I don't think it's going to have the effect he's talking about. Two, the optics aren't good, and three, it doesn't really help the teenagers that much anyway. It doesn't help. It certainly doesn't have to help the businesses. I mean, it may help the teenagers a little bit, but it really doesn't help the businesses at all.
No, it doesn't.
Because at best they're warm bodies, and so that's not a replacement. What we got to do is get people, there is, running out. And I think this is the reason that the government's been reluctant for a long time. Even the genuine portions of the government have been for a long time avoiding running these illegals out, and it's because there's going to be a period of inflation that's driven by higher wages from the that you're going to have to pay to get actually qualified workers who are Americans and legal to come in and do the work. But just because those things are going to happen doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
That's been the scare tactic for decades.
Yeah.
And is there going to be a period of adjustment? Sure there is, but at the end of it, we're going to be back to the economy where someone could go get even a minimum wage job and wind up with their own home of some kind, even a rental home, but something on minimum wage.
I mean, there should be no reason they're paying these workers the low wages they are. I mean, to me, I think it's totally unethical and totally wrong. Period.
Well, the thing is, if you stop dumping cheap labor on the workforce, then that cheap labor will stop driving the wages down.
Exactly.
Which is what they've done. And people say, "Oh no, they don't. These guys, they want it working for good wages." Oh, let me tell you something. I've seen enough of these guys get screwed, and how it's happened enough to them that in their mind it's a cost of doing business.
Right.
They may they'll go all the way to the end of the job and get screwed at the end of the job, and then what are they going to do? Take the guy to court? Well, I'm not supposed to be in this country. All he's going to do is call immigration, and they're going to be out and not have their money.
Right.
So it is, like I've said in the past, it's a slave class.
It is.
The quicker we can put an end to that, the better off we're going to be, and frankly, the people that do wind up immigrating to the United States are going to be.
But how do you expect we do that?
Well, get rid of all of them. I mean, I'm not saying, we're on the right course. We just got to just not be surprised that that there are going to be some bumps in the road. I mean, there are.
More or less, how do you get?
We got it to do.
How do you get employers away from wanting to do the slave labor and everything like that?
You take away their slave labor force is how you do it. And look, people say, do generic employers like once you become a boss, you're automatically dishonest, and it's not the truth. It's just that there are a lot of unethical people in that food chain. Usually, the guy at the top of the food chain that's paying the bills has no idea that this intermediary, you pay this guy down here, and he just happens to be the one that speaks English, and then he divvies the money up.
Right.
Well, who says how he divvies the money up? So it's, Lord knows, it's just a system that's rife with corruption, right. And it just gets built into the system.
So do you think that there should be criminal charges going against these employers who are doing that type of work, or should it all be civilly handled?
I think well, number one, I hate to say it, but if they weren't here to begin with, they wouldn't be having these problems. and if they weren't here, then the system. You see, every time you try to artificially influence these systems, these complex systems like employment, there's always an unintended consequence. And that's what has been happening for decades. And now they're so deep in it, they're scared to pull out. Well, guess what? You got to pull out of it.
Now, do you think a lot of it are the immigrant workers already here, or a lot of them are being recruited by other companies to come here to work?
Greg, before Biden invited these millions of people over here, 1 in 4 Latin people were illegal.
Oh, really?
Just walking around. You could walk into a group of 20 of them, and 5 of them would not have the right to be in the United States. Now, after Biden has done it, it's 1 in 3.
Right.
Is it any surprise whatsoever that this workforce is driving wages down?
Well, it needs to be fixed somehow. We had to.
Needs to be fixed.
Hopefully, we get some elected officials up here in the next cycle here to get some resolve and get it taken care of.
Well, I think we're well on our way right now. Like I said, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with what we're doing. I mean, there's going to be bumps in the road. And there's going to be fights, and Trump's going to have have to do some court cases to work his way through it. But at the end of the day, I think it's all going to work out. I think it's going to work out great.
Switching topics here real quick. You want to talk about Colombia and the schools and all the protesting and where they're at with the with how they got their money back?
I think the hypocrisy is rich, but it's certainly not surprising.
They want their $400 million back. I'm still blown away by $400 million.
There are few people on the planet more greedy than the people running universities, and because they know that they can direct that money out, and talk about people whose economic backgrounds you need to look into. Because God knows what these people are doing. And, I had a lobbyist friend tell me one time that it would be embarrassing for him to tell me all of the economic development and, frankly, non-education related legislation and thereby money gets filtered through the university systems.
Yeah, a lot.
And these people inside the system know that's how they're going to get their money. Right. And as long as they behave right and talk the talk and walk the walk, they will get their share, and they do.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Can't say anything different about that. I do think the hypocrisy is huge. The whole educational system about how when they say the money's really going, it's not going.
I mean, it is enormous. Yes, it is huge. It's enormous. They don't, they're absolutely lying their butts off. But it's how the system works. So I mean, they're going to it doesn't surprise me that Colombia capitulated. That they're happy to throw almost anyone to the wolves to protect what they can of their status quo.
They want that money.
They want that money.
And so I'm surprised about the other schools have not really started coming out yet, like Berkeley and NYU and Harvard. They haven't
Well,
really.
Harvard did. Harvard has. NYU. I'm not sure where they are. Berkeley. God knows what planet they're on anyway.
But they haven't been fined by Trump yet.
Exactly. But their day's coming. Their day is coming. So I mean, one more thing. I guess one more thing we can talk about before we wrap it up is the Houthis.
Yeah, they're not terrorists. Remember?
Yeah, they're not terrorists. Well, they're terrorists
Lincoln said
now.
they were not.
Yeah. They are designated terrorist organizations, and we are bringing the fight to them. And I will say this: one thing that was brought up is that there's not really. They don't. We've never had a situation where an air campaign by itself was enough to affect change. But I think that we may have one opportunity here where that air campaign will work out just fine, because and Trump's already laid the groundwork for it. When the Houthis continue to fire off ordnance, because they're going to, we're going to pivot and go right over to Iran and start bombing the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And see how quickly the Houthis' money dries up.
I agree. And we had to be careful with Iran now because they had all the nuclear stuff all running around the place.
Yeah, well, that's why we're going over there with airstrikes.
That's where we need to stop it totally. But real quick about this judge who's trying to stop Trump from getting rid of all the terrorists and the illegal prisoners, the gang members. Go back to Venezuela, and he stopped the plane. And
well, no, he tried to stop the plane. He ordered the plane to stop, right. And the plane said, "Sayonara, I'm in international territory."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very. I mean, Pam Bondi and a lot of the other people in the Justice Department, I think it's very interesting that, and I think it is probably something to start looking at now. Both sides have benefited from this, where circuit judges have stopped national movements or national acts done by presidents or Congress. And both sides have both benefited from this issue. Now, are both sides ready to tackle it and to stop it?
Well, I mean, these court cases have always been part of the plan to begin with, because what Trump is doing is he's taking the things he knows for a fact are the most solid, his most solid moves, and the things with the most legal backing, and he's doing these, implementing them in a way that he knows is going to get him sued, that leaves the left no choice but to file suit because it's going to be so devastating to them. And he's bringing these up first because he knows that he'll lose at the at the first level. They'll get to the appellate level, the appellate level, and they'll probably, he'll be 50-50 on that. But then he'll get one or two good solid cases up into the Supreme Court, and that'll set the table for everything else he wants to do, because he will have set the precedent for all of the other actions he's going to take toward the end.
I mean, like
the Democrats are right to be scared, because it is going to hamstring any possibility of progress they have in the future.
Right. And I mean, it's like the NSA Secretary Mike Waltz was arguing with the CNN contributor, the same one who was I forget her name. I always forget her name, but she's the same one, the same crazy one who was saying that the Nazis or free speech was calling the Holocaust or something like that. Anyway,
I remember the same her, lady. Yeah.
Anyway, she was like basically defending these prisoners and saying that they weren't criminals or they were not terrorists or something like that, and saying that we need to look at them. I mean, it's sad that the media is jumping in the tank with terrorism and gang leaders and defending gang leaders and gang members. It's just it's sick.
That is interesting. I think one of them commented that even Nazis got to sit before a tribunal before they were ejected from the country.
Oh my God!
And
really?
The thing is those Nazis that she's talking about weren't here on a green card. When you get the green card, your lawyer tells you you have to behave, that the you're here at the pleasure of the president of the United States, and if you do things that are irritating any government person, any of them can petition to have you tossed out, and the State Department will do it like that.
Right. I mean, and the whole idea here that we have activist judge here trying to stop something like that, which is not even constitutional for him to stop. I mean, it's just remarkably weird. I mean,
yeah, I mean, this is why they do all this jurisdiction shopping.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I think it's going to win the Supreme Court pretty well. But I mean, it's just so sad that the Democrat Party has gone to this level, and the media has joined them and driving them to this level to where they hate America so much.
I don't know why we keep saying this as if it's a new thing, because I don't. At this point, I don't remember when it wasn't like this.
Yeah,
it's the damnedest thing.
They hate America. Left hates America more every day.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and close this here segment here of the Political Matrix News. Go ahead and tell them how to find us here.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're on all the major platforms. Just look for the Political Matrix News. But right now, I need you to like, share, and subscribe. Sharing especially, because that's how we beat the algorithms. We tell the truth, but the algorithm doesn't like the truth. So please like, share, and subscribe. But even if you've already done it, keep ringing that bell, because if you don't, we will go away forever.
Good night.
Good night.